Okay, welcome and good morning, everybody. December 5th, 2018. It's a Wednesday, and we're doing Captain America, hopefully for the final time to get this to Michael, a guy who ordered it. I came in this morning, spent a little extra time getting my drawing figured out. Even though the first one I had done, I really liked the drawing. I think I just overworked it a bit in the finish, and that can happen. More lines, hashtag more lines for Jared. So we're going to try not to do that. So I'm going to get started. Welcome if you're already in the room. And in about 5-10 minutes, when I get to a breaking point, I will see who has joined us, say some good mornings, and then continue with our Captain America piece for today's daily live draw. I guess I should call it daily live finish, but when I first started doing these, I was doing the drawing, if you remember, as well. But as they became a little more, well, I don't know if I'd say complicated, but as they became a little more detailed by just me experimenting, the time that I would actually have to do a live stream became more and more it's the last few days it's been right under 2 hours, and I also need to cut that down. I know it's fun, but it's time consuming also. So but the good thing is about that is they're like yesterday I would have put the splatter on the Ghost Rider. That would have been done like after I ended the stream and stuff like that. So good thing is you're pretty much seeing 100% of the finish piece done now. So I need to find somehow, and I've never been one of these guys, girls, folks that can hurry through a piece like extremely quickly. Hey, good morning, Ryan. How are you doing today? So anyway, that's kind of where, if I could do them in an hour, that would be great. I just don't think I think the piece would suffer a bit. So for the time being, they'll just take as long as they take. And if they go into the close to 2 hours, I'm hoping you all are enjoying the extra time spent. And that it still allows me time to get other things done that I need to in my day. Hey, good morning, Tater. How are you doing? Well, this plan of attack for this cat piece, Ryan, is to just I worked it out on another piece of paper, um, and then I traced it over. So I kind of, I kind of really, hopefully, worked out my shapes and everything, so that when I go to tones and stuff, I'm not just winging it. I've actually got a pretty good roadmap here. And I think taking a break from it was a very helpful thing too. So we'll see. We'll see if we can't get a decent version of my favorite superhero done today. I do ink with a quill, Ryan. Not recently though, because the papers that I use, they, for me at least, they don't. I use good paper, but it seems like the quill wants to tear the fiber up. Um, so unfortunately, or fortunately, as the case may be, because art supplies have changed, I will use like microns or Pigmas pens that are at least reliable and waterproof and won't fade. Um, when I was inking full time in comics, I would use quill, a 102, a 103, and believe it or not, a 104, which is Al Williamson told me about the 104. And when you first get a 104, that little thing is like a nail. I mean, it's really, really hard. But you can get a very, very fine line with it. And they don't tend to loosen up a lot, but they loosen up enough to where it's you get a little spring in it, and it's really good. I really enjoy it, but I wouldn't try to use one on. I think the it's not just, you know it's everything. A lot of supplies, and you've probably heard this, just kind of when the digital age started taking over. I don't know, traditional supplies, at least ones that are used in the craft of comic book inking. And I guess it could be said for calligraphy and stuff too, with the pen nibs. just started to go downhill. And even the quality of paper that you get varies. You can get the same brand, and depending on when they milled it or pressed it or whatever, you can get a bad pad of paper. You'll be going along and, all of a sudden you open up a new pad of paper and you're like, wait a minute, I've been using this for the last 6 months and it's been great. Now what happened? So you get a new pad, you open it up, and guess what? It's fine. And you just kind of scratch your head and think, why? And I don't have the answer to that question. But yes, I do use a quill. My preference is a brush. I think once you can master a brush, then a pen becomes easier to use. It's just you can get certain effects with both that, like the 103 nib I mentioned, that was a fairly standard, well-used nib in the 80s by a lot of Bob McLeod, Joe Rubenstein, myself. I think when Sienkiewicz was doing some inking, well, he uses about everything. He's really experimental. But that was my go-to pen. And the 103, I believe it's also called the mapping pen, from Speedball, was phenomenal when you'd get a good batch. The flexibility of them was just fantastic. You could get a hairline or a fat line. It really, it really, when you had one broke in really well, it worked quite like a brush. And those I found, though, even when they were good, I found that they were really hit or miss right out of the box. I used to buy a gross of them at a time. So you'd get 12 boxes with 12 in each box, and you could pull out a new one, and you could tell right away that the flexibility of it was gone. Just something wasn't right. It wasn't manufactured well. So back in those days, rather, since the pens were not that much, where now you can pay like around $3-4 for one nib. Back then, they may have been around a quarter, 50 cents. You literally could just dump it, because you knew it wasn't going to be a good one. Monkey Buck. Yes, I do have experience with Captain America, sir. As far as inking something like this, I That's a good question, and the answer is yes, I do, because a lot of these I'm not worried with other elements, background elements. So the main thing is that I feel I can get away with is a more, and it's probably going to work its way into my work as I continue studying J.C. Leyendecker. Single illustrations or portrait type stuff, you can get a little more style in a single, like, head and shoulders type thing, because you don't have to worry about a total overall piece with backgrounds and other objects and stuff that would need to match the total background and stuff going on. That's why you'll see a lot of portrait painters and stuff like that. Basically what they do is, you know, they can stylize the background up. It's not going to stay there. They can stylize the background. They can fade the shoulders down into the canvas. They can, you know, do something with the collar. It doesn't all have to be drawn. So yeah, I definitely take advantage of that also. I haven't done it as much on these as I have in the past, but I think I will probably be trending that way in the future. I would like to ask Monkey Buck, where is he? Where's he been, and why hasn't he been by to buy my lunch like today? Hey, good morning, Shannon. How you doing? Also, when I do a piece like this, I tend to, I tend to, and this is only on my pencils, because like if I'm inking a Zec piece, there's a certain, I think there's a certain look people are you know are wanting. So I try to keep that classic Zec Beatty look. On these, I can get a little bit more experimental. And again, the more I look at what Leyendecker's doing, the shapes that he paints to make up the face, it's really interesting. This goes back to around the 2010, 2011 era, when I was doing Ustream and I was doing some headshots, and I was actually leaving a lot of my construction lines for the head, the planes, in the inking. And I really liked it. And my point being is, looking at Leyendecker, I can see, you know, forehead planes and cheek planes, and the way he leaves linear stuff intact, the planes of the head or stuff like that. And it's things like that to me that I enjoy. Good morning, Ron. How's it going, buddy? Uh, I know you were probably cold up in Ocala because we were in the 40s this morning, which I was not expecting. But when I got up, I knew I would be taking the little guy to school because it was cold when I got up and got ready to come down to my office here. Yep, I figured. I figured you were getting some cold weather. Where did that monkey buck run off to? Uh, huh. I mentioned him coming down and buying me lunch and he disappeared. I think you will, at least I do. If it continues to shape up the way I drew it, I every now and again I tend to get a little bit of that Mike Zeck influence in my Captain America pieces. And if this one, if it turns out the way it's looking so far, from what I can see, and you guys aren't, I know it's a little bit lighter, but point being, this one actually might have a little bit more of a Mike Zeck flair to it. And I occasionally get that because I think Mike, man, my voice. Let me, I have some hot tea here. Ron, got some hot tea, but I am feeling like a coffee after this. I might have to run and get one, a nice hot coffee today. Excuse the slurping there. Next time I'm going to hit my mic on mute. Favorite cap artist? That's a good question. I'm thinking because the right answer should probably be Jack Kirby. Although I have to admit, Steranko really nailed it for me. And of course, Mike Zeck is a fantastic. John Byrne did a great run on Cap. I like John Romita's Captain America. I like Neil Adams' Captain America. I like Chris Somney. I like his brief run on Captain America just recently, quite a bit, as a matter of fact. I think he had the proportions down, a real good proportional, the way the figure should look on Cap, as well as the face. But I just like everything that guy does. He's pretty incredible. But if you had to back me in a corner, oh man, it's hard not to say Jack Kirby. Uh, and it's hard not to say Steranko. So there's my Sophie's choice, so to speak, on Captain America. Who's in that favorite? I don't remember seeing Herb's Cap. Did he have an actual run on the book? I'll tell you what was interesting. What I liked too was and I think it was only one issue that Wally Wood inked over Gene Colan. Man, that was some beautiful stuff. I think I put my little target area paper little high, so I'm gonna move my whole board down so that it'll adjust for where I got the camera and everything. Let me see. Yeah, that let's see. All right, that should be better. Ron, I know who you're talking about. Thanks for sharing that with me. I'm not going to name a name. Red Skull, all the way for me too. And the Hydra agents are right in there. And Ryan, yep, I the brief edge to Steranko is probably that's my gut feeling too. And I really wish I wish Jim would have done more than 3 issues, but according to him, I think he took himself off the book because of Stan putting in a fill-in issue that he did not need, according to Jim, which was that album issue in between, in his run. And so from my understanding, I believe I heard it direct from him, he decided that he was going to take his leave from Cap. And I can only imagine what he would have done with the character had he stayed on it for a year or two. What great visuals and stuff we would have got just based on 3 issues. I do have that painting of his. I picked it up from him at a convention. I got it framed. It's in my office closet. Haven't had a chance to hang it yet. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be 7 or 9 tomorrow. I checked my phone real quick. Of course, that doesn't mean anything. Tomorrow it's saying it's supposed to be 51 in the morning. So if it's 51, I will probably, or below, it could get lower. Who knows? I probably will bounce till to 9 and get Jacob there so that it's a little bit warmer. And of course, Friday was already intentionally planned as a 9 o'clock. To your, oh, is it Ron? Yeah, well, I guess I should plan on 9. It's not so much Marvel. I mean, it is. They would have to make an offer, Ryan, to Steranko, but then, Steranko would have to want to do it. You know, it'd have to be an offer that would make it worth his while to do. And I also think uh, it would have to be. I know he would want total control over it, which I see nothing wrong with that. Um, the only problem is, he's been late twice on the artist edition of his Captain America run, the 3 issues, and his Nick Fury by designing it for IDW. So, odds are it's not going to happen. Even if he agreed to it, I think it would probably not get done, only for the fact that um, Jim's not going to let anything be put out that's subpar, and that's why the second artist edition is late, because he's been toying with the layouts and other things. So it's cruel. I've been waiting on that book forever. I've had it ordered since I got the first one, where he was inking Kirby, and I just absolutely love that thing. Every time I pick it up, I don't get more than usually 1 or 2 pages before I have to put it down, because I've exhausted an hour on one page alone. So while I have flipped through the entire thing, I haven't I haven't really enjoyed every page to the to the degree that I want to. So much information looking at that stuff. Fury Artist Edition. I'm not sure what that is. Hey, good morning, Dr. Kaz. How you doing? Good, good to have you here, as always. Oh, and AG left a comment. I think it was in the Ghostwriter stream yesterday, and he also put his choice in there. And I'm not familiar with it, so I'm going to have to do some research. But he wants a Greg Capullo era Spawn, so I don't know what the difference is, if anything. With either him taking his mask off or his mask off. So I will probably do mask off, because an action of him doing it may be a little tougher. Or what I might do, what some people have had me do with Batman and Spider-Man before, is they want like half, let's say half Spider-Man, half Peter Parker, half Bruce Wayne, half Batman type thing. So I'm thinking I may approach it like that. It's a bit of a complicated request, Ron, but I think I can, you know, uh, like I said, it's not going to be a whole scene where he's taking his mask off type deal. I'll probably either do it without mask like he asked, or like I said, do the half and half. Now, and see, I I'm not that familiar with Spawn. I drew him one time. I think it was around 96 or 98 when McFarlane's assistant called me up and offered me some decent money to do a pinup, which was printed, and I forget which issue. I tell you, I forget, I forget what issue it was in. But I do have a Spawn pinup, and at the time I thought it was good. I'd probably hate it if I saw it now. In fact, I know I would. Um, so they called me up and asked if I'd like to pencil and ink a pinup for an issue of Spawn that Todd himself requested. Todd had requested for his assistant to get a hold of me because he had liked my inking over Kelly Jones on Batman. So I obliged him. The money was good. And I believe that was the first and only time I remember doing Spawn. I just haven't had any requests to do it, and he's not a character that would come to my mind, like pop in my head and like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do Spawn. So, no hate for the character. Just don't know him well enough, haven't drawn him enough, and so I don't know if during the Capullo run, if was it Al Simmons was his alter ego, if he was still Spawn or if it's somebody else under the mask. I have no idea. I got to find out that information and get a sketch done that I can ink tomorrow. Oh, okay. Thanks, Shannon. So Spawn issue 32. I have a credit as a penciler, and that would be the one that I have the pen up in. Does it? If you're still on that, is there a year? Is there a year on that, Shannon? I want to say it was 96 or 98, somewhere around there. Sounds about right. 98 is probably a bit long in the memory bank. I think it would probably be closer to 95, 96. 94. Okay, well, that's even a surprise to me then. But anywhere in that time period sounds right to me. I know that comic book database can sometimes be off, but I'm gonna say they're right on that. Hey, Dr. Kaz, how's the video quality looking today, if you got a chance? My favorite comic book database site? I don't really have one. I'll tell you, my favorite comic book data book uh, site is Mike Zach's checklist because I can find everything I did over Mike on his checklist. So that's a good one for that. But I know all of them are not 100%, and I don't expect them to be. There's too much stuff that uh, people will confuse me with Terry Beatty, especially since we were both doing Batman projects. He was working on the animated stuff, and I was working on Kelly's stuff. So occasionally, I get somebody at a convention come up with a bunch of his books for me to sign, and I tell them that's Terry Beatty, and boy, get some embarrassed people, and I tell them not to worry about it. It's not they're not the first one, and it's cool. Terry and I are buds, so nothing wrong with a little confusion every now and again. All right, so gonna go to black areas on this. So while I'm filling in these blacks and it's quiet, I will do the YouTube spiel of, if you are not subscribed to this channel, please do. There's a subscribe button. All you have to do is click it. A little bell will appear once you've subscribed. That bell is, if you click it, will send you notifications to your device on when I'm live, when I'm uploading recorded content, or when I'm doing anything YouTube related. And that includes getting in on my son's Roblox with a Jacob cast, which he wants to do another one soon, and I told him we would. So the little guy wants to come do something else. Probably about the same as he did before, but I want to nurture that so that he will be able to speak, which I think he does well already, like in front of people without being super shy. Even if it's online, knowing that he's talking to people that are actually listening to him. So subscribe, hit the notification button. If you don't like my content, you might like Jacob's if you're a fan of Roblox. The next thing you can do is, if you like what you're seeing, give me a thumbs up. Give me a like down there below. I don't think you have to subscribe to do that. So if you don't want to subscribe, you could do that. And lastly, leave a comment. If you have a question about something you saw me do today or something you'd like to see me do, put it in the comment field. Now, those of you that are here live, you can ask and get an answer. But if it's something that you step away and you're rewatching this, feel free. Ask. And I will reply. I try to make it as much of a priority to reply as soon as possible so that it doesn't fall off my radar. But there are certain times, like when I'm asleep, that I can't reply, so that usually waits till the morning. But I appreciate the subscriptions, the comments, the likes, and the community that we're nourishing and building here of like-minded, and I say that as in comics, like-minded comic fans of the medium of comics. I believe, you can have all your differences, but the one thing that will tie us together is a love of comic art and comic characters. Nothing wrong with that. The best thing that can happen to a YouTube channel is watch time and views. How long somebody hangs in and watches a video, or how many views it gets. And again, mine are averaging somewhere by, in a 24-hour margin, they all have been somewhere around the 40 to 50 views. And when I've heard other people talk about how many views they have to, first of all, they can actually make money, but they have to get a ridiculous amount of views to even first getting a few pennies. So not there. And probably don't think I will get there anytime soon. But you know what? It's something to shoot for. And that's what I'm doing. And next year, when the convention season starts, and for me, I have one, I think the earliest one is in February, and then I have one in March. May is usually, May starts the beginning of the summer shows. So I know I won't be on 5 times a week if I'm on once a week. But what I plan on doing is trying to at least get some content on recorded. Even if I'm at a show, I might record, inking in the room convention sketch, probably over my exec, like the Snake Eyes one that I have up on my channel now. And when I get home and get those edited and stuff, I'll pop them up here. And what I should do is kind of like an overview of the shows I do this year, because I'm always there before some of even the vendors, and I can walk around and see what's going on. I like to get there early so that I don't feel hurried, so I can get at my table. I'll maybe finish up a sketch, see what I got left to do, unless it's, well, even if it is the last day, that's the important day. Got to get it done. So yeah, stuff like that. Oh, thank you, Dr. Kaz. I appreciate that. Yeah, Ron had the same, when Black Friday, when he came down, when he started looking at some of the original stuff, he was quite floored by, you know, what gets lost in the stream. He couldn't believe how much more crisp the lines were. And I really, I think for me, I think it's a matter of my internet. I think if I had but it's so expensive in here to purchase my own, and I think they only provide me with, I want to say, like 22 megabytes per second. 24. Did I say 22 or 24? I can't remember, but it's low. It'll get the job done for most things, but for streaming, I would love to have 100 or more. But for me to actually get that in well, heck, you could probably, you might know, Dr. Kaz, if your office has high-speed internet, the price on that, because there's one girl that works here that I know, and she does her, or well, she used to do her own internet, and I think it was close to $200 a month to have a higher speed. but she wanted the better connection. And I have not had a problem with mine, except for, I think, the streaming. That's my guess on the deal, and it's it sounds good. It sounds like it's correct. The camera seems to be right. My laptop is a Dell XPS 15 with a good video card, solid state drive in it, a 512 solid state drive, um, which means no moving parts, and 16 gigs of RAM. So this little laptop is pumping out some power. Thanks, Ron. Thanks, Dr. Kaz. Uh, that's why I do put a scan up on Twitter, Ron. I'm trying to I'm trying to use Facebook because if you go to my my fan page, the John Beatty Art, you can actually, there's a YouTube little tab. I believe you can watch it on Facebook on the YouTube tab. If you go there, I think it will pick up a live feed, and it also draws the feed in from the recorded ones. So I'm just trying to play different different social media things and not be so repetitive. Now, I know that's probably not the best thing I could be doing. I'm with you. I think that Instagram is the easiest and the least combative social media. But for that one, I kind of have another reason I'm not using it as much for like an everyday drawing. I want it to be more, I guess, process and finished pieces of and this is going to sound not the way I intended, but of a higher caliber. So basically, I want to make sure that something that goes on there is a more high. I guess the easiest way I could say it is a high price piece instead of a lower price on my scale of pricing. So if that makes sense, yeah, it's not meant to be insulting or demeaning. It's just I'm trying to try different things in different areas. So all right, now that I've got the blacks here filled in, we're going to let this dry. That's an interesting theory, Dr. Kaz. I hadn't thought of that. I hadn't thought about that. The interwebs. Yes, Ron. You can only follow me if you want, and Zablo, and everybody else in the room. Believe me, I'm not about to get into uh, a battle with anybody on, say, Twitter or something like that. It's, why? I, it's ridiculous, to say the least. I know that you can go, I don't know how much more, over 140 characters, but it's a little ridiculous, don't to think you can have like some sort of, but I've seen them. I've seen screenshots and of people having a shouting match or something with each other with 140 characters. It's like, really? Okay. This is 1 out of 10. Okay, I wish this was 100% dry. Let's take a little sample here. Nope. Yeah, let's touch that up. That took some tissue. All right. It's just funny because some of this ink gets a little shine to it. There is an ink that I like, and it's Dr. P.H. Martin's Black Star Matte Finish ink, and that's exactly the reason I do like it, is because it dries with a very matte. This has a little bit of shine, but not as much as what you're seeing. What you're seeing is because I have a light, and that's why Dr. Kaz is also getting a lot more clear streaming, is because the light is hitting it right at the direction that it's going to get that little sheen to it. See, down here below, it's already, it's not picking up any sheen. All right, so I know this is wet up here, but that doesn't mean I can't start doing my wash in Cap's face. So let's see what my wash water looks like tonal wise. If I can just go with it. Usually it's been very good as being my lightest color, and I think that that's going to be the case now. I think it's going to work out. Just to be sure, I'm going to do a little bit of Cap's wings, a little shadow on them as they go down into his mask. Okay, I think that's good. And we'll hit the ear with it. I think that's safe. Kind of thinking this ear needs to all be in shadow except for a little highlight, little rim light here up top. I'll cut it in. Because I got this whole side lit in, well, in shadow rather, not lit. Light's coming from the other side, so. All right. Yep, don't drip down. If you're going to drip down, go into the black. In fact, let me help you by turning you upside down. There you go. And I think, or I should say, I know this one's going to be the winner. I know that this one will be one that I'm happy with. I can tell. I got a good feeling about it. But don't let that discourage any of you guys seeing what I went through on this. I mean, it happens. You know, I should have kind of not pushed it after the first one. But you know, I should have realized something ain't working. Let me move on to another one and get back to it. But I'm hard-headed sometimes. So when Cap kicked my butt the third time, I knew it was time to take a rest from it and do something else. Now that I'm back to it with fresh eyes and a fresh look, I am having a good time doing it and think it's going to turn out marvelous. How's that? Positive self-talk. Okay, looking good here. Yeah, I think sheen is the right. I got the right word, Dr. Kaz. And living dangerously here, not checking this, but I have to imagine it's dry now. If not, it'd be number 4. And I think I would just cry. Literally. All right. Now, my bigger question becomes, do I put a darker wash on the blue of Cap's suit? My inclination here is yes, because I have the nice highlights in the face. So I'm thinking about it now as I look in the chat and see if anybody else has came in. If you're a new viewer, welcome. I am John Beatty, and I am currently doing a ink and ink wash drawing of my favorite superhero, Captain America. And I really think, I'm really thinking that it's a little too light to not put dark on it. But I'm also thinking the way I had it figured out was to leave white, uh, kind of follow the face type thing. A nice bright white highlight on these areas and even on this side of the head, except in here. And then everything else back will go into a dark. So that's going to be my decision. I'm going to run with that, and I think it's going to look good. So I am going to mix up some darker wash now. Hey, don't second guess me, Ron. I know it looks good now, but I think that second tone, I think a second tone of darker wash is going to make it even look a lot better. Yeah. let's see, I'm going to show you about the darkness right now when I do his iris. And I'm going to have to blot that because of course, the brush is too wet. And redo it with a drier brush. I'm not sure you'll pick up, I'm not sure you guys will be able to pick this up on your monitors or not. It's one of those things that you almost have to see in person. But there it is. So that's the tone I'm looking for, is that second tone. So let's get into it. It's going to be in shapes in a sense, except for in this area, just like on the face, the shapes. It's down in here. It's going to have its white highlights. This is going to get it. This little area here, just to tone it back. And this. Now, I'm wondering, no, that's probably going to dry dark enough. I was wondering if I should go a little darker, but I think it's just a matter of getting the right wetness. Maybe not, though. That's getting too close to the flesh tone. And before I scrub up too much of the paper, I'm just going to add some ink into my little palette, my little ceramic palette here. Get it a little darker. Pull up a little bit of that. I tell you, the most frustrating part is getting the water and the paint right. Or in this case, I'm thinking of watercolor. Getting the water and the ink right. There we go. And we're still going to leave highlight on this part of his nose. So basically, we're just cutting in a little bit more shadow. Mm-hmm. And little gradation here on the top of his head. All right. Let's see. See that? Nothing drastic. That might take a second coat there because I do want it a little darker. Just a shade. It's hard to tell on the stream. And let's see, I'm going to get into the neck area, but this is where we're going to let the white work for us again as the highlights. And we're going to make a shape here on his traps. Again, leaving white as a major player in this tonal area. And I believe a second layer of this will darken it to the needed degree of value. If not, I'll work on it again when that's dry. We'll get it to the correct darkness that I'm looking for. That's fine. That's going to be really good. Don't really want to go darker than that, so Okay. All right, this is going pretty good, fellas. And now the big area. The big area of wash. Let's see, I'm going to break this up into pieces. Make it a little more controllable. Last layer there. And I need a big wash. Excuse me. I need a big wash up top of his collarbone. So I'm going to really lay one in quickly. Or as quick as I can. That's pretty quick. Let that dry out a little bit and then redo it. And then I need one more on his chest area, but leaving a highlight. And we'll let that dry, and hopefully it'll form a good base where I can smooth it just a bit. I don't mind having the actual, I don't mind getting a little bit of the actual feel of the watercolor. on the piece. It doesn't have to be a complete flat tonal thing. In fact, I prefer that it not. I like a little bit of the life of it. And I'm just going to help this dry a little bit. And now, pop back in here quickly. And touch up a few things, and I think we'll have our finished Captain America finally. I know when I had started the third time, I said third time's the charm. I didn't want to say 3 strikes and you're out, but that was in the back of my head. So I kind of did have a 3 strikes and I was out, at least for a while. But struggles like that happen. And I should have known to set it aside. Should have known to set it aside and come back to it later. I've had enough. Well, I'll tell you what, part of it is when you're working on a monthly book or something like that, you don't have the luxury of setting it aside. You get it done, you settle, and you move on to the next thing. And while that's kind of true in some of these, I know if I have time, I would rather give you all a much better piece than sometimes what I come up with the first time. And some of you have experienced that. So, it's just something that's internal. But it gets worked out. That's the main thing, is it does get worked out in the end. So I believe we have finally accomplished the finished Captain America. I'm very happy with this piece, actually. Looking at it on my computer screen, proportionally it looks good, tones look good, lighting looks good. Could I pick it apart? I probably could. I probably will later, but right now, I think the best thing to do is call it done, because one, I am happy with it. Thank you, Dr. Kaz. And thank you, Ron. Yeah, it kind of needed it, Shannon. The white area was too white. Truthfully, I would almost like to do the same effect I did on the Spider-Man piece, but I'm saving that for Dr. Kaz's webhead with the real dry brush coming in from the sides. I would like to have that glow around cap, but I'm saving that. I'm saving that for Friday for Dr. Kaz's web-headed Spider-Man. Hey, Chris, you been lurking all this time? Welcome. Thank you for the compliment. I really appreciate it. Hey, if you can do me a favor, Chris, can you leave that comment in the comment section? I would really appreciate that. It kind of gets a conversation started with other people. So thank you. So I'm going to end this now. I think I will go have, I'm going to get this scanned. I'm going to get the thumbnail for the show up, put it out there. If you all feel like retweeting it, if you're on Facebook, if you want to just, share it, feel free. I don't think you can share from my fan page, which I have looked in and tried to figure out how to. I took it off because people were just sharing all sorts of stuff on there, and I wanted to have some control over it. But now I think it doesn't even give the option to, for some reason, it doesn't even allow me to see what's, what if someone's trying to share. Even myself, I can't share from my own timeline. Thank you, Dr. Kaz. Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Shannon, Chris, Ryan, anybody else who's out there just viewing, not participated in the chat. I welcome you to chat next time. As you can see, it's a friendly chat. Don't get into anything, deep. Just try to keep it on what we like in comics. That's one good thing I can say that we probably all have in common. For now, I guess that's it. It's probably, I'm going to tell you all now, I'm thinking it's going to be 9 o'clock tomorrow, just judging by my weather app on my phone. Just to give you all a heads up. It could be 7, but I doubt it. I'm thinking it's going to be 9. And I know Friday, Dr. Kaz, you're going to be 9 for sure. I already called that one. So you all have a great rest of your day. I will try to do the same. I've got other work projects to get to, and I'm going to start getting busy on those. Some exciting stuff, and we're going to have to see what's doing next week. I don't know if I should start a topic, or maybe somebody will come in and purchase a grouping or something. I know Shannon has a couple of pieces he's asked me to do. Thank you, Dr. Kaz. And again, if this is your first time watching, do me a favor. 3 things. Subscribe, hit the notifications, like. 4th thing you could do, if you feel like it, leave a comment. Let me know what you'd like to see. Let me know what you enjoyed about this. What could I improve on? Thank you all very much. Take care, and I will see you tomorrow morning. Have a great day.